Let me end with this story. It's a story I share every once in a while. It's a favorite that I read probably 30 years ago now. It was of a man, a guy who had been in a horrible automobile accident. He was a great athlete. He was very competitive, always involved in different kinds of sports. And in this accident, he lost an arm. And through his recovery time, he's trying to figure out what kind of activity he can be involved in now that he only has one arm instead of two. And so he began to experiment, trying to check out different sports that he might be able to be involved in, because the drive for competition and to be in shape, that whole deal was still a huge part of his life. And he finally picked up the game handball. Anybody here ever play handball before? Has anyone ever played racquetball? Yeah, racquetball is the funner, safer way. Handball is painful. You hit this ball, it's about as hard as a golf ball. You hit it with your hand, they put this cheap little leather thing over your hand. It doesn't work at all. I don't like handball. Racquetball's fun, but handball's painful. That's painful. Well, this guy became very, very good, and he just progressed throughout the club that he was a part of. He eventually won the championship of his own club, and they entered him into the state competition. And so here's representatives from various clubs throughout the state, and he played, and he ended up winning the state championship as a handball athlete. And a newspaper writer wanted to interview him after his victory, and so took him aside and just began to talk to him about the contest and how good he did. He had a question for him. He said, how is it possible that a man with one hand can win in a sport where all your opponents use two? Because if the ball came off the wall this side, his opponent could use the left hand. If it came this side, his opponent could use the right hand. So they said, how is it possible for a man to win in a sport where all your opponents have two and you only have one? And they said, oh, it's easy. Options. And he said, what do you mean options? So when the ball comes off the wall, my opponent has to decide what hand to use.
That's all.
44 years ago, I said yes and chose one hand. And when something comes up that is the will of God, it matters not the price, because the decision was made back there. I'm not interested in building something that looks and appears wonderful to people. I don't hardly ever talk about this, but I'll take this one moment and then not bring it up for 20 more years. Yeah. I have friends who have shut down a move of God in the church because they were afraid of losing people. I have one friend, he just shut it down, and he became in such a barren place spiritually. He went back east. He was in a meeting. Claudio Freidson, a dear friend of ours, was preaching, guy from Argentina, and he stopped in the middle of his message and he said, there's somebody here who shut down a revival and you're asking God for a second chance. And my friend sprinted from the back of the room to the front for a second chance. Why? Because you just, it's so easy to get under that influence of what everybody's thinking, trying to make everybody happy, which means you're not going to make God happy or anybody else. And he sprinted to the front and now leads a church. One of the great revivals in the nation is in that church. It's been there for years.